goodness. Big move Monday. Look out. A way to end the tournament.
Everyone, it is Austin. I am back with another interview, this time with the head coach at Penn, Matt Valenti. Coach, thanks for joining me here.
Austin, thanks for having me on. Excited to talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have been in the news recently. Just got a nice little donation here, $20 million donation from Dave Potruck, alumni, for the Quakers. He was a two-time EIWA place winner. That's all I really know about him. You can probably tell us more a little bit about what Dave does and what he means to the program.
Yeah, happy. I could talk about Dave all day. So Dave was a two-time EIWA place winner here at Penn, but also was a two-sport athlete. So he was a football player and a wrestler. Two programs that he's very passionate about, and he's been very invested in a lot of ways throughout his time. Dave actually graduated Penn. The story that he probably will never tell, but loves to tell our team, which I appreciate. Dave graduated Penn and wanted to go to med school and got denied from every single med school that he applied to. Decided to stick around for a year and coach wrestling. And during that year said, what the heck, I'll throw my application in for the Wharton MBA program, and got in and got accepted. Dave went on to have an illustrious career in business, where he became probably most famously known for his time as the CEO of Charles Schwab. There's an incredible book out there called Stacking the Deck that kind of talks about his experience at Schwab. But essentially, Dave was the CEO that took Charles Schwab, the firm, from a company of about 5,000 employees to 50,000 employees, and from only paper trading to online trading. So he really oversaw one of the greatest changes in the history of that company, and he served as CEO of Charles Schwab for a really long time. And through all of that, continued to support Penn wrestling, Penn football throughout the years. Very passionate about the sport of wrestling in particular. He's a Long Island guy, talks about his experiences in Long Island growing up, but just as a diehard Penn wrestling fan, and hasn't missed an NCAA championship in decades at this point, and is just one of those fans that many of our listeners probably have bumped into him and not even realized it, right? But just an awesome human being who cares deeply about us and our program and the future of our program, and that's kind of led us to where we are today.
Yeah, like we kind of mentioned, and we'll link the article down below in the description here for people can get more details on exactly what went into this donation here. But talking to some people, and it comes up like $20 million. It'd be nice to have that. But Dave's a guy that says, hey, here's a donation for $20 million. And you and I were chatting a little bit, how does something like that come up? I'm sure it doesn't happen. Just, you don't go up and ask, hey, can I have $20 million? Right. I'm sure this is something that was years in the process. And I'm sure Coach Reina maybe had a lead on that, probably years ago at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. The the starting point of getting to this $20 million gift was quite frankly years in the making. We started with probably 5 or 6 years ago now. We started exploring options to renovate our current wrestling space. And then it kind of morphed into, okay, well, what spaces exist around campus that we could potentially use to, really amplify our wrestling program, really improve kind of our physical footprint that we're using for the sport. And we went through multiple iterations of looking at different spaces, different places. And at one point we took a look at a space called Waitman Hall, which just happens to be the gym where the first ever college wrestling tournament was hosted in 1905. There's a basketball gym upstairs. Well, it is now a basketball gym, wasn't back then, but a gym that's a basketball gym that is pretty lightly used overall. We looked at it, we did a big study on the space, and the number was pretty big. We felt like we didn't really have a path there. So we said, all right, let's go back to looking at renovating the room. Last summer, a group of us went out to visit with Dave and spent some time just kind of talking about the future of the Penn wrestling program, the PRTC, kind of the Philly ecosystem as a whole, and how do we continue to elevate who we are as a program. And at that point in time, we were really focused on renovating our current facility. And we were fortunate that Dave and his partner, Colleen, came to Philly, went to Waitman Gymnasium, saw Waitman Hall space, and left and said, guys, we we can't pass this up. And that was a couple months ago now, and a lot of conversation, a lot of back and forth, a lot of work. Ultimately got us to the point where, Dave understood that this doesn't move forward without Dave's support in a significant manner. And uh, to say Dave stood up in a significant manner is probably the understatement of the year. But landed us at a point where, Dave is committing $20 million to help support this effort. It's part of a broader campaign that we're calling the Lasting Legacy of Excellence campaign. Coach Reina will tell you that's intended to be focused on the future of the program and the legacy of excellence of the program. I like to think in the nearer term, in particular, while Coach is still a part of the program, it's a reflection of Coach and what he's done through his time here too, right? And this is a fundraising effort that reflects both aspects of that. What Coach has built and done throughout his time as head coach here at Penn, and what we're looking to do in the future to help support Penn Wrestling into the future. So it's an awesome first step for us in this campaign. 25.1 million of this campaign will be for the facility. Another 9 million will go to operational endowment to help support our program.
Yeah, that's something that Coach Reina, I don't think gets enough credit for. You can see the results on the mat since he's taken over, but it's a lot of that behind the scenes stuff that he seems to really excel at. He's a great people person. So just having him spearhead this was, I think, a perfect fit for him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Coach has shown himself to be an incredible fundraiser through the years. In particular, even had a stint working in development and fundraising when he left coaching the first time. But I would say is without a doubt the best fundraising wrestling coach in the country, and he's pretty darn good at the rest of the stuff too, right? He really has built this program into something special. And I know we'll talk a little bit more about it, but putting me in a position where I get to take over this program and in a very unique situation compared to many head coaches who are coming in as a first-time head coach taking over a program.
Yeah, that's actually a great segue to what we're going to talk about next. Coach Reina was there for a while, left, like you mentioned, came back and was the head coach and really put Penn back on the map here. And it was announced about a year ago, maybe a little bit more, that you would be taking over as head coach when you were kind of out of wrestling yourself in more of an admin role. So yeah, you kind of stepped in last year and played associate head coach, I believe. And then now you're taking over as the head coach as Reina is stepping down. You guys are kind of seesawing, flipping here. So what's that been like? And it's pretty unique. You don't really see that much across the board in the sport.
Yeah. I think unique is the best way to explain kind of how this both came to be and how it's kind of gone over the last year plus now. I alluded to this in my last comment there, but most wrestling programs, most athletic programs in general, when there's a coaching change, usually it's a coaching change for a reason, right? The best case is somebody getting poached and going somewhere else and leaving a really good program behind. Those are few and far between. Most of the time, it's because something went terribly wrong, right?
Yeah.
And there's this foundational issue that needs to be fixed before a program can really start to excel. And there's always going to be a period of turmoil that comes along with that. What's unique for us in particular is with this transition, obviously I got a year back in the fold with Coach, serving as an assistant coach, really just, diving headfirst back into everything, getting my feet back underneath me, understanding the nuances, the ins and outs of the program. And then this year we flip roles. Coach moves into a role that's titled head coach emeritus. So he's in a supporting role for me this year. He'll be on staff through the remainder of this year, this season. And then he'll retire next summer. And now I'm in a position where I get to step into this leadership role, hopefully become an effective leader, but I have a mentor and a guide who's standing right next to me who gets to help me along the way, right? And the person who helped build it to where it is today. My job isn't necessarily to create a foundation because the foundation's incredibly well set right now. My job is to start to build on top of that foundation and figure out how we start to accomplish the next level of goals that we want to set out for ourselves. So it's been an incredible experience for me. I'm so fortunate to be able to work alongside Coach Reina, learn alongside Coach Reina, and to work with the staff that we have to really kind of build towards the future of what we want Penn Wrestling to be. And we just did a little announcement today of we moved our tagline from the movement to the build. The build was actually in motion before we were announcing the facility, but ironically, it's become this both literal and figurative
Yeah, let's
effort
play
of
on
Penn
words.
Wrestling going forward, right?
Yeah,
So we're excited about it.
you mentioned Coach Reina going to retire this year. Is that actually true, or is he gonna keep climbing mountains like he's been doing and staying busy? I don't see the guy sitting.
Yeah, it's going to be whatever version of retirement coach feels good about.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be a retirement in the traditional sense in any way, shape, or form. That would be my guess.
yeah, yeah. That's kind of what I'm feeling. He's climbing mountains out there, traveling all over the world, and keeping
Hmm.
busy. The guy's nonstop. He's great.
Oh,
Uh,
he's awesome. Awesome.
Talking about some other coaches here, you've
Hmm.
had one full year now with Darian Cruz, been
Hmm.
on staff, also PRTC athlete for you guys.
Hmm.
Um, what's it been like to take someone like that who has I've never heard a bad word about Darian. I've known him since I've been growing up. We're from the same area. One of the best dudes in the entire sport. So what's it like
Hmm.
coaching alongside him?
So we're technically not even at a full year with Darian yet,
Oh, really?
which feels a little bit crazy because
Wow.
technically he didn't start for us until after the Olympics last year. So that was probably a
Right.
September, October start date.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're not even quite at a year. And I think the best way to describe kind of how this staff came to be is sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Hmm.
And we are incredibly lucky that we managed to land Darian and bring Darian and his family into the fold here at Penn. Um, you talk about what it takes to be successful as a coach in this sport. So much of it is dependent on relationships and being able to draw anything and everything you can out of the guys that are around you. And my gosh, Darian is the ultimate relationship builder. He can sit and talk to and listen to and inspire literally anybody at any time. And that's before we even talk about his wrestling skills, right? You put those two things together and his willingness to learn and his desire to win. He's got that quiet fire, right, where he wants to win. Um, you don't build coaches much better than Darian. So I consider myself incredibly fortunate that I get to work alongside him, learn from him. He has been a bridge to so many different things for us in so many positive ways, whether it's RTC athletes, whether it's international experiences, recruiting, you name it. I mean, the guy is just busting his butt every single day. And oh, by the way, he's got a 1 week old at home right now too, and he's still grinding, he's still hustling. So we're so lucky that we have him on staff. And he's a guy that I view as incredibly bright future ahead of him. He's going to do whatever the heck he wants to do
Hmm.
when those opportunities arise for him. So he's just been awesome and fun for me even to get my hands on him a little bit and play around with him. And reminder of how fast I think I used to be, but definitely am not anymore.
Yeah, coach, no offense for getting up there in age. Darian's still young and spry with chase around those three kids now too, right?
Yep, yep, absolutely.
Yeah, just to close it off with Darian, and just when he was
Hmm.
at Lehigh as an athlete up there at the Lehigh Valley Wrestling Club, he had great relationships with the Lehigh staff and the Lehigh wrestlers, and they were a little bummed he left. No hard feelings, obviously, but like you said, he's
Yep.
just great relationship with everybody, and just kind of draws the attention, and everyone flocks to him. He's great.
Hmm. He is awesome, and obviously I have a world of respect for that Lehigh staff up there. I've known all those guys forever. Actually wrestled for Pat when I was up, still training back, over a decade ago now. So of all the people you want to steal somebody great from, that's probably not the group that I felt super awesome about doing it. At the same time, it was right place, right time, and I think we all needed that setup to kind of happen. And I think we're all thriving as a result. So it's awesome, and mad respect to Lehigh coaches and all they're doing up there, and
Yeah,
appreciate them letting us steal Darian from
yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure they're thrilled about that, right?
them.
But yeah, you
I'm sure they're
mentioned.
coming back for him at some point.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Hmm.
You mentioned you, Darian, on staff, Coach
Hmm.
Director of Ops, Kevin McGuigan.
Yep.
Technically still have an open position. A little
Hmm.
teaser coming down the line here. You guys recently signed someone or about to sign someone.
Yeah, I think we're probably in the last stretch here before we can formally announce what was Doug Zapp's position.
Hmm.
Doug went on to law school. He actually this week moves down to Charleston to go start law school down in Charleston. So we're super excited for Doug. But we think we finally found, I know we finally found Doug's replacement to take on Doug's role here at Penn. So excited to get our staff fully back up to speed and move in. And fortunately for us, a little earlier than it even was last year. And I think we're gonna have a pretty good staff here with Coach Reina and Darian and this new hire. And then obviously we've got arguably the greatest director of operations in the sport, and Kevin. So you know, yeah, I'm a fortunate head coach that I get to work with people like this, and that we get to kind of grow and learn and build this whole thing together.
Yeah, so people out there listening, little teaser coming. There's going to be an announcement for Penn shortly in the next week or so here. Excited for that. That'll be fun. Sticking on the Penn route here, any schedule updates or maybe just some new opponents or new events you guys are planning to attend? I know it's still a little early to announce full schedules, but we've seen some
Mhm.
tidbits out. Anything you guys can release yet?
Yeah, so the one that I think has already been out there is we're going to wrestle at the Battle of the Yorktown down in the aircraft carrier in
Yep.
Charleston.
Awesome.
Super excited about that opportunity with Russell Campbell down there. Congrats to Coach Dudley taking over that program.
Yep.
So excited to go down. I didn't realize at the time that's actually going to be my first dual meet as a head coach. So kind of a cool setting to have your first duel as a head coach,
Yeah, heck
which will be
yeah.
cool. Um, and beyond that, I would say the biggest highlights I think we have coming up this season. We're going to shake it up a little bit, mix it up from past seasons. We won't be at Midlands this year. We'll go out Scuffle. Keystone
Nice.
Classic looks like it's going to be a great field, probably a little stronger than it was last year.
Good.
One of the teams that we're going to add in the mix is Oregon State, who are actually going to duel the day before as well. So we're going to double up.
Nice.
And then outside of that, get in the Ivy schedule, a couple local dual meets. Um, See a couple other new head coaches along the way, which I'm excited to get a couple of first year head coaches all competing against each other. Um, but yeah, I think it's a good schedule that's going to push our guys in the right ways and hopefully set us on the right track to be ready to do some good things in Cleveland next year.
Yeah, I'm always excited for the Keystone Classic, not just for the hospitality room, but for the wrestling as well. But I think getting Oregon State in there, it's a good mix because there's a lot of teams from the East Coast that you guys kind of see
Hmm.
pretty often there. So having a wild card like Oregon State coming in, you never really see them. So I think that's a great addition there.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah, we're excited to try and mix it up a little bit and get some different looks and different faces in the classic.
Yeah, that's always good. And I hate that it's that weekend. It's the Philly Marathon. Parking is a nightmare
Mm,
for other people, but you guys still get a good showing. So it's a great event. Looking forward to that.
appreciate that.
And then last thing I kind of want to touch on here for Penn is CJ Composto.
Mm-hmm.
Um, two-time All-American, potential to be a third, be on the podium for the third time this year. I believe it's only happened twice in Penn wrestling history, thanks to you and Matt Feast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say when, but it was a little bit ago. Um, so, what's it like being in CJ's corner and just what he means for the program, both on and off the mat? I know he does a lot with Beat the Streets.
Hmm.
Um, so he's just a great guy off the mat as well. So tell me a little bit about CJ.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head with CJ. He's just an exceptional person overall. And CJ having success on the mat and accomplishing what he's accomplishing, for those of us who know him, are not at all surprised, right?
Yeah.
He works his butt off in everything he does. He fully commits himself to everything he does. And he does it with an incredible disposition and demeanor, too. And he's pretty unflappable in the grand scheme. And, I think a lot of his success this year, particularly at the NCAA tournament, was just that kind of dialed in focus where he just was unshakable, really just dialed in the entire time. Darian and I still chuckle. Like he won in the round of 12 and we were cheering and hugging in the corner and he walked by us and like didn't even flinch. And he was like, I gotta go get ready for the next one. We were like, okay, stop cheering. All right, let's go back now.
The business trip,
Um,
coach. Come on.
it was straight up business. And at the same time, like the vibe that he brings to the room, how he approaches the sport. We're fortunate to have CJ in the mix, and I'd be honored for CJ to join us in that club of three-time All-Americans. I know his goals are higher than that, and I think he's got every bit of ability to do that. But more than anything, I'm excited for CJ to get back out there this year and compete and finish his career on a high note, and expect to hopefully see him back on that podium again this year. Hopefully near the top of that podium this year. His only losses at the NCAA tournament were the same guy, right? He lost to Bo Bartlett twice,
Mhm.
quarters, round of 16, and quarters and third. So, we expect CJ to be in there banging heads with the best of the best. And CJ's had an amazing summer. He's trained his butt off. He's done some great stuff. We're about to send him overseas tomorrow to go to get some good international feel in, which we're pumped about. But one of my, small anecdotes that I like to share about CJ that nobody knows is 8 days before the Ivy tournament, we had a guest show up, come train in our room in Ono, and CJ really wanted to go live, and we said, all right, fine. And last go, of course, tweaked his knee.
Oh.
And he was an absolute monster, taking care of his body, rehabbing, getting himself ready to go. And most guys would be really shaken up by that. And he just absolutely steeled himself and probably didn't wrestle his absolute best at the Ivy tournament, but knew that goal was one match at a time, find your way to the NCAAs, and then we go from there. By the time he got to the NCAAs, he wasn't even taped up anymore. So, it speaks to kind of the fortitude and strength that CJ has behind the scenes that you don't get to see when you just watch him wrestle out on the mat. So, super excited for him in his last year here, see what he can do. We have high expectations. He's got high expectations. We're gonna do everything we can, get him ready, make sure he's putting his best foot forward when we get out there in Cleveland.
Yeah, it was you and I kind of talked beforehand too. It's fourth place at NCAA tournament it's really impressive, and you don't see it every day for a guy from Penn, So having him do that in front of the home crowd, great way for Coach Reina to be sent off too, and he has another
Mhm.
year left too. I feel like he's just one of those guys that quiet, like you said, quiet under the radar, puts his nose down, gets to work, and gets the job done. And I just don't think because he's not like I think he'll admit he's not super flashy, right? He's not gonna
Mhm.
cause a scene. He's not gonna be that guy. He's gonna put his head down, go to work, grind it out, and get wins and get off the mat. He's just
Mhm.
maybe that's why he's not super noticeable or anything like that. But he's one of my favorite guys to watch.
I appreciate that. He's incredibly consistent, and the highest level of the sport, consistency really matters. And I think we saw that play out for him at the NCAA tournament. And honestly, he continues to push our guys on that every single day. Right, we had
Mm.
4 guys in the round of 12 last year, and CJ being one of those. And he's not letting anybody off the hook. He's making sure everybody understands you want to do it at that level. Here's what you got to do, and make sure you're committing to it every single day. And just another one of those things that I'm incredibly fortunate to be inheriting as a head coach.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to have a guy like that in the mat, and you have some young talent coming up too. Jude Swisher, I'm a big fan of Max Gallagher at 25, and there's probably a bunch of people I'm missing too. But it's fun watching you guys compete because you guys wrestle hard, and you guys are gonna. It's good. It's good wrestling all around. Big fan.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Jump in. We'll go to PRTC quick. Pennsylvania Regional
Sure.
Training Center.
Yeah.
I forget my timelines are all coming together. Coach Slay announced his departure. What was that? 3, 4
Mhm.
months ago now at this point.
I think it was April. Yeah, a couple
April,
months
yeah,
ago
so
now.
about three,
Mhm.
4 months. So any updates on the coaching search? And
Mhm.
on top of that, you guys just signed a resident athlete in Shane Jones there.
Mhm.
So give us update on athletes, and then what the coaching position is looking like here.
Mhm. Yeah, so officially our 2 athletes that we have in the fold are Darian and Shane. Both represent Puerto Rico. Obviously, everybody knows Darian. We talked about him. I can continue to talk about him. I would love to do it, but he's probably going to get mad at me, get embarrassed. So I'll let it get slide.
Very humble
Um,
Darian.
Yep, right. And so we've got Darian. We've also got Shane, who we just signed, who's 79 kilos, represented Puerto Rico at the World Championships last year, placed 7th at the World Championships. It's a Valley guy, right? From
Yep.
Lehigh Valley.
Big fan.
And he is honestly awesome. He's been in our room. We're fortunate his wife got a residency here in Philadelphia. She's a medical resident. And so he was going to be in the area, and it was just a no-brainer for us to pick him up and have him join us. And beyond that, right now we're going to end up probably pulling in 2 other international guys to come train with us pretty consistently. So we'll be up to 4-ish senior level athletes, at least in the near term. Always with an eye towards the future, seeing what else kind of shakes out. And from a coaching perspective, we're probably just going to pump the brakes for the time being. We want to catch our breaths a little bit. For me, is I want to see what shakes out this year with all the changes within the NCAA, see who, quite frankly, see who kicks open, see who's thinking about, going down a different path. There are a lot of people out there who don't love the way this landscape looks. And I think we have a pretty attractive opportunity here for the right person. But for me, it's incredibly important that we find the right person and make sure we feel good about whoever we're bringing into that role. So, we'll have those 4 senior level guys in our room training, which we're super excited about. I think they're going to have a huge impact. And, the other side of what we're really starting to explore here is a little bit more of international opportunity. Our mission at the PRTC is to enrich lives locally and globally. So we're really leaning into that global part of it. So we're actually sending a party of 10 to Japan tomorrow morning. They're going to go over to Japan and train for a little over a week. Darian and Shane are part of that. A couple of our RTC athletes, U23, U20 athletes, college guys, will travel with the RTC out there to go train too. And they'll be training with the best of the best over in Japan. And our hope is we do things like that. And we also encourage people to come back to Philly and train in Philly as well.
Yeah.
Right. So create experiences for both our guys and international guys come back to Philly and train, and not to pick on any other place, but coming to train in the city of Philadelphia can be a little more exciting than training some of the other places that we host major RTCs around the country, right? A little more going on in the city of Philly than there is in some of our peers' locations, right? So a little more attractive opportunity. So we think we can really start to kick the tires on that, really get some momentum going on kind of that international kind of trade side of things where, we're sending guys places to train and we're bringing people back to come train with us. And honestly fits who we are too, right? We are a growth minded, want to continue to get better, don't care who we learn from type of program. And, we had the Azerbaijani national team coaching here one day, just kind of showed up, started showing technique. And I was like, I'm going to sit on the sidelines. You got practice, go. Right. And like, that's awesome. That's what it's all about. Right.
Yeah.
Sport is about growing and learning as much as we can. So, it'll be a little bit different flavor of the RTC, obviously, from where we were in the last Olympiad. And quite frankly, I think it's the right thing for us at the right time. I think it's going to help us continue to grow as a program, specifically Penn Wrestling. And, I think the PRTC kind of rebuilding the way it is kind of just aligns with kind of the Penn build of where we are too. So, there'll be more to come for sure. Probably the biggest news out of the spring for us is we promoted our guy Kev to COO. So if you talk to him, please feel free to call him Chief. That's the nickname that's stuck.
I'll do that for sure.
But it's still a pretty big entity. There's still a lot of moving parts, a lot of great stuff happening. And I chuckle. Obviously, there's all kind of scuttle out there about the refolding or disbanding or whatever the terminology is, and just kind of makes me laugh because if you sit here and you understand it all, what's happening, even when like that was like at its peak furor, we had JILO and Darian on, as senior level athletes, which is 2 more than most RTCs out there, right? Everybody's like, they went from all these athletes to no athletes and they're gone. And I'm like, wow, look around the country. Remind me how many athletes the other places have, right? So if anything, I think we're still kind of ahead of the curve. And we're going to continue to build that way and allow ourselves to build the right way from the kind of the ground up with it.
Yeah, that's an interesting point too, because people have come to me and said, "Is Jordan Burroughs retired?" And I was like, "Well, I haven't seen an announcement from him. I'm sure he's still competing. I'm not sure." And then it's like, "Well, why doesn't he coach the PRTC?" I said, "Well, if he wanted that, I'm sure that would be a no-brainer for them. But he's got this own academy thing. He's got family, obviously. He got a farm load of kids, right? So I think his desires might be elsewhere. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think Jordan's in a place where he's trying to figure out what his future looks like in
Yeah.
every sense of that, right? And
Yeah.
he's earned that right too, right?
Of
He's
course.
he's
Yeah.
earned the ability to take his time to figure out what the right next step is. But I chuckled. Everybody's like, "Have you guys thought about Jordan?" And I'm like, "Oh no, hadn't thought of that one before."
Great
Wow.
idea.
You know what? Maybe we'll vote on that as an idea. Like, of course we've
Yeah.
thought about it. And world of respect to Jordan and all he's done. And yeah, Jordan needs to understand what Jordan wants to do next. And if that means come back and help us out at some point, you better believe we're going to welcome back with open arms. If it's come back and trade for a little bit, same applies, right? But same time, he's got to follow his heart, figure out what's the right thing for him and what's next. And then we'll support him in that, whatever that looks like when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I'm always curious to see what path he goes down, because he has that academy there where he's coaching his oldest son and some young kids, and he's kind of helping David Carr become what he is, a part of a national team. So, he could probably coach any age range he wants, right? It's just kind of does he want to stick down, which path does he want to stick with, and again, that's for him to decide, not for any of us. I was just curious if there was any updates on a guy like that. Knowing Jordan, he's not going to just fade away. There's going to be an announcement of some sort, whenever that time comes, right?
Well, I would say at this point, you'll know the same time I do. So if I had anything interesting to share, I'd certainly share it. But right now, I think Jordan's just crushing his camps in his academy and doing a great job of impacting a lot of young people's lives, which is, hey, extremely honorable and awesome.
Yeah, he's done so much for the sport already. It's like, what else can the guy do?
Yep.
Last thing I want to touch on here is kind of the landscape of college sports and wrestling overall, right? Is NIL. Buying it, opting in, opting out. I know Ivy League, you guys are not doing that. NIL is not really a thing for you. Transfer portal isn't a thing for you. So, you might have different thoughts on it from other coaches, but from your admin and coaching perspective, what's your overall opinion of NIL in both general NCAA sports and wrestling in particular?
We can
talk about this all day. So
I was gonna say this could be a long one.
Where do we start?
So I will say for Penn specifically, we are not immune from any of this, but we are insulated from it. So the transfer portal, can that hit us? Absolutely. We've had guys get approached. It happens. That's part of it. Do I love it? No. Would I do that to somebody else? No. But we're in a world that's becoming a little bit more cutthroat, particularly with all these changes that are happening. The Ivy League has not opted into the House settlement. We've opted out. That's weird to say that way. We opted out of the House settlement. So there won't be revenue sharing. There won't be roster limits. Personally, I'm very appreciative that we won't have the roster limits, because I view that 30 number as a huge detriment. We're just a sport that we're predicated on iron sharpens iron, right? And the more iron you have, the more likely you are to sharpen that iron. When you start trimming back rosters to 30 or below, then you're playing with fire a little bit, right? And we like to think we all know how to project weight classes for guys. And any coach who tells you they think they can nail what weight a guy's going to be in college is totally full of it.
Unless they're heavyweight, right?
What's that?
Unless they're a heavyweight.
Most of the time,
heavyweight.
And even in those cases, you see some guys go down. Right. But so 30 guys, all of a sudden you think you have 3 25-pounders. One of them gets banged up, 2 of them grow, and that's going to be a tough dual meet season for you. Right. I got a 65-pounder who's projecting to wrestle or a 25-pounder who's projecting to wrestle 65 for me this year, and was on the cusp of going up to 74. Right. So you never know how that's going to play out. But I would say that is there the opportunity for that to impact us? For sure. Could we be in the NIL space at some point in the future? Maybe. NIL is just so volatile right now. Every day is a different story about what NIL is going to be the next day. Right. 2 weeks ago, we thought we had a sense of what was going to be allowed within NILs, and collectives were not going to be a part of it. 3 days later, collectives are actually allowed to be a part of it again. Then an executive order comes in that may actually disband the collective set. So, if you're heavily into this NIL space right now, it's just tricky to understand what this is all going to look like when it's all said and done. But the scary thing is when you put NIL together with this House settlement and the financial burden that's going to put on programs. I think that's the thing that I look at as a coach. And fortunately for me, I'm not worried about it, because we have people like Dave Patrick and this campaign that we're about to launch, where 9 million of what we're fundraising here is focused on endowment to help support the program in perpetuity. Our alumni are incredibly gracious in supporting our program. We cost our athletic department $0 every year. We fundraise every single dollar between annual fundraising and endowment that already exists and cover 100% of our expenses, top to bottom. Right. And what that means in the big picture, to oversimplify it, is our AD is incredible and she would never consider this. But if she were ever to be at the point where she's like, oh, I need to cut sports, right? I need to save money to reallocate money other places. Well, one, our money is all protected for us, so it can't go anywhere. And two, we don't cost any money. So, well, why would you ever cut wrestling? Because it actually does nothing for you. You just don't get any of that money, right? So we're actually a major value add, the athletic department. We're probably one of 4 or 5, maybe, wrestling programs in the country that can say that. And that means in this landscape, anybody who's not, literally anybody who's not in that conversation or close to that should have their ears to the ground and paying attention to what's going on around them, right? These scholarship limits, these scholarship changes, they're real. On the surface, they sound cool that you can go up to 30 scholarships. Those 30 scholarships ain't free.
Yeah.
It costs a lot of money.
Right? Yeah.
Yep. And by the way, every other sport at your school wants those scholarships too.
Yep.
And if you aren't already best friends with your AD, you better start buying chocolates and flowers and whatever their vice is, and start filling up their inbox with it.
Oh yeah.
Right. And you better start making some phone calls to some alums and asking for some donations. Right. And that's kind of just thinking forward of where we go. Like it's a little bit scary. I'll admit I'm as a purist of the sport, I'm uncomfortable with what our future looks like right now. I think if we don't really start to dig in and financially figure out how we support ourselves a little bit more, and I'm not talking about people showing up to dual meets or ticket sales. People don't understand most of the time that's actually ends up being a loss no matter what anyway, right?
Yeah.
Unless we're selling out football stadiums for wrestling matches, dual meets. We're probably not making money on ticket sales when it's all said and done, right? Even the biggest programs don't actually make money when it's all said and done. So, what's going to save us, what's going to keep us healthy in this crazy landscape that we're in, is figuring out how we build out our philanthropic support, right? And so for our fans out there, if you got a program that you really like, I would encourage you to go support them. It doesn't have to be a lot to start. Dave Million wasn't a $20 million $20 million donor the first time he gave to us. But you got to start somewhere, right? And yesterday was the time. So today's already a little bit too late. So get on your horse and get after it, because it really is for the health of the sport, for the long-term benefit. For guys like us who have little kids who we hope maybe will wrestle in college someday. I want our programs to be around, and we got to figure out how we save them and we support them. And that's the thing that I think scares me the most about kind of this world we're walking into right now. And it's purely like, obviously if I was purely selfish about this, I'd be like, well, less programs, that's more talent for me because I'm not going anywhere. We're fine. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not stressed about it. The competitor in me, like I want to go beat the best of the best. So I want them all to be around. So everybody's got to figure it out. We got to step up and start now.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you said, and remind me of a tweet Coach Scott Green of Army West Point put out the other day. I'm sure you saw it. Is the top 4 skills of a head coach are fundraising, 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 and fundraising, which, I mean, 15, maybe 10, 15 years ago, longer than that, that wasn't really the thought. It was, I'm going to train my guys. We're going to be in the best shape, best technicians. And now you're more of a CEO trying to, like you said, get all this fundraising squared away, get these donations so that your program is safe for the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say anybody who's stepping into a head coaching role now needs to understand that's got to be an important piece of the puzzle for you. And it doesn't mean, and I know we set the bar pretty high here with Mr. Patrick's gift of $20 million. That is extremely unique. That is not normal. And you have to start somewhere. If Coach Reina was on this call right now, he'd tell you the first year he started fundraising, his goal was $2,000. Right. And that was where the Grapplers Club, that's Penn's alumni board, that's where we started, was $2,000. Right. Now we fundraise over $800,000 a year annually, right? Year over year. But you have to start somewhere, right? You got to be able to go ask for $10. Ask somebody to give a Starbucks worth of coffee monthly, right? It's a couple $100 a year. You get a couple people to do that, you'd be surprised how quickly that can add up.
Yeah.
So it's not sitting down with 1 or 2 people being like, give me $10 million and thinking that's going to pan out, right? It's just starting with little pieces and then working your way up from there. And yeah, I mean, the role of a head coach these days is different. It definitely is
Yeah.
different than when I started coaching, different one than I moved out of coaching last time. But yeah, CEO is the right word, and chief fundraiser is probably a good way to think of it too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, Coach, that was a great conversation we had here. I'll leave the floor open to you. Anything else you want to push out, promote, chime in on? The floor is yours.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. I just would say, hope everybody listening is paying attention to what's happening over here at Penn. We're super excited about what our future looks like. I think we're doing some awesome stuff. Obviously, this announcement about our campaign is kind of front and center right now. And it's kind of overshadowing the work that our team has put in a little bit, which is totally fine and appropriate at this point. But just want to let you know and remind you that, you want to see some exciting wrestling. We put some good product out in the mat, and proud of our team and how they compete every single day and how they compete when they step out in the mat, and hope you join us at a duel or at the Keystone in the Palestra at some point this year. And if you can't make it and you're feeling inspired to help support the sport and you want to give to Penn Wrestling, lasting campaign, lasting legacy campaign is the way to go. Right. So come help us continue to build for the future. We're super excited about it. And, we got some awesome stuff ahead.
Sounds good. Coach, thanks for the time. Anyone out there interested in getting into a match, get to the Palestra. It's electric. It's electric during a dual meet, whether it's a 60-0 Penn or, a tight one. It's a crazy atmosphere. Student athletes get into it, fans get into it. It's a good time all around. So like I said, Coach, thanks for the chat. Congrats on your donation here, and looking forward to some news the next few days about a new coach. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Awesome. Thanks for the time.